This is Sybert signing into Red Alert 3 on the map Mers Landing for game number 1 of the BattleNet Qualifier. Welcome to the storm. The lightning is striking. The airfield is first. And in the northern position, playing the orange allies, this is Rennie, which is almost certainly not that player's name and not how you pronounce it. In the south, playing the Cyan Empire, this is 32 Oil Derricks. And yes, I did choose to cast this game from round 1 of the BattleNet Qualifier. This is actually earlier than the round 1 of the Command & Conquer Online Qualifier. This is the round of 64 technically, because there were 58 players who signed up to participate in the BattleNet Qualifier, which is absolutely crazy if you look at the numbers of players who are participating in tournaments on the CCO side regularly. So absolutely crazy. But yes, I did choose to cast this game, to jump in with it, purely because this guy's name, 32 Oil Derricks, No Fog 1v1, I believe is his full given Christian name. And, well, in this case, the bomb splitting is looking pretty good. 2 bombs to 1 Imperial Warrior, 1 to the other. So you kill 1 Imperial Warrior and you still use that 3rd bomb for something else. A couple of dojos coming out here relatively early from our Cyan Empire from 32 Oil Derricks. He, of course, already got the Oil Derrick. He attempted to go for his opponent Oil Derrick as well, and then he produced 2 more dojos beyond that. So 2 grand in dojos spent here in the early parts of this game, followed by an MCV cell. So it is going to be a double refinery plus the Oil Derrick, and that is it. It might be a short and sweet kind of a game. We'll see how Rennie chooses to deal with this. And yes, for Rennie's name, I did just screen cap his name, and he does actually spot the MCV cell. If he's paying attention, he will see the debris there. Although maybe on lower quality settings, you can't see the debris. That is possible. And anyways, I did screen cap his name and then send it into Google Translate, and that's what I got back. So I have no doubt that it is wrong. Perhaps someone in the comments can let me know, because we might actually be seeing one of these players again. I'm not going to be casting every game from either one of the qualifiers, but the BattleNet Qualifier, just like the CCO Qualifier, has a lower bracket. Tengu's here on the left side guarding these Imperial Warriors as they're pushing in. The multi-gunner turret was able to push away this attack for a moment, but this is a lot of firepower, despite the fact that it is entirely gun-type firepower. First Tengu does end up going down. A couple of javelins get eliminated, and the Vindicators come in for a big bombing run. That's going to be lights out as an additional multi-gunner turret gets deployed, but one gets sold off, and now the Peacekeeper jumps inside. He wants to try to eliminate as many Imperial Warriors as he can. This MCV tactic, cell tactic, is a bit risky, but it's paying off some dividends. Almost every single Tengu has gone down, and those are certainly the more expensive units to replace. Power plants have been rebuilt on the far side. MCV is looking like it's going to be under threat. Another barracks comes out. Another multi-gunner turret gets deployed. Vindicator bombers have not been stopped. Dog gets the bark off, but it's not fast enough, and the Vindicators will get another successful bombing run off, eliminate another Tengu, and get themselves enough space for their dog friends to get some damage done. Barks come out. MCV goes for the crush, and this attack is falling flat. But here's the second flank. Power plants under threat. Once again, it's going to be wasted cash coming in for the allied player, but that's not wasted cash. These Vindicators are paying off huge for the allied player. We talk so much about how the allied army is basically about efficiency, and most of the time we're talking about cryocopters, but right here, right now, these Vindicators are doing absolute numbers against everything that the Empire has to offer, which, to be fair, is only Tengus and Imperial Warriors. Not the biggest threat to Vindicators, especially because all of the Tengus have been in that ground mode. They have not once tried to fight these Apollos, and this attack is barely holding on. 2 more Tengus might have been enough to sort of turn the tide, keep up the pressure. The War Factory never coming out for the Allied player. He has done all of this on 1 airfield and basically 1 barracks. I think he's rebuilt the barracks 2 or 3 times, but he has been doing this on extremely limited production. And that is often what we see from Allied players, is the heavy reliance on aircraft. But the fact that he had to sell off his 3rd refinery and he's still got no vehicles to show for it means that he does have a limited set of tools to work with. 2 Vindicators are it. Okay, War Factory is now up for him. Vindicator's taking a little, or Apollo's taking a little bit of damage there as the Vindicators come out back across the map, hunting around for another target. Everything has calmed down as the Empire went tier 2. You got to try and find a way to break up the monotony of just going Tengus when they're getting sniped and they're being dealt with. Riptides now coming out. Cryocopters and Riptides. Okay, we do have tier 2 from the Allied player. I have to imagine the Cryocopter is going to be on the way soon, because Cryocopter Riptide is a powerful combination. But of course, Cryocopters will be difficult to keep alive if the Chopper VXs get up close and personal. Those Strikers can deal with the Cryocopters fairly effectively. It's all going to be about the positioning of these 2 players. MCV healed back up to full. 32 was able to get that MCV down below the 50% mark, but most likely an engineer repairing it back up to full means that he's got to rework through that health bar. MCV has not been rebuilt for the Empire player. 32 Oil Derricks is just going to try and make it happen with this army. 3 Guardian tanks now out on the field. It was 2 a moment ago, but it's 3 right now. Apollo's getting a couple of shots off. They do manage to stake down 1 Striker. A little bit of friendly fire splash damage as he crashes down, as another Guardian tank pops on out right onto the front line, and most of the infantry get crushed. A couple of them going down underground, trying to hide, trying to keep themselves alive, as the Guardians have 3 repairs right here on the front line. The unit control is pretty darn perfect from Rennie as he holds on to that last Guardian tank, and the attempt from the Tsunamis to stick around on the front line just isn't working. The critical mass may have finally swung into the Allied favor, as we have a pretty heavy army value advantage for our Allied player. As you can see, that sort of cliff upwards, that's that last fight where the tanks just went down on the Empire side. Tanks coming out for the Allies, tanks going down on the Empire side. No. Oh, the tier 2 is out of range. No Cryocopters at all. We do have the Cryo Shot firing off. It's on top of the barracks. It's going to help shut down that production, but we have not seen any Cryocopters utilized by the Allied player. Ooh, I did just notice that the Empire player managed to grab both Oil Derricks, so that is a big advantage the Allied player has not been able to deal with, since they are both on dual refinery economy. One player has that double Oil Derrick as an advantage. Tsunami Tank is going to be pressing forward. If there were a couple of more tank busters here, this fight would be a lot easier for the Empire player, but of course the repairs are here for the Allied. Honorable Discharge going to be giving some damage to these Tsunami Tanks as they just die on the front lines there. You can see he was trying to body block, trying to trap these Guardian tanks with his Tsunamis, so he could also utilize that Honorable Discharge ability, but also utilize the Tank Hunters, and now the army is truly falling apart. 32 Oil Derricks is getting routed here at the front door of Rennie. Allies reign supreme, and 32 will drop game number 1 of this best of 5. And the storm may be gathering, but right here on Temple Prime Reloaded, it's a nice sunny day. It's a vibrant afternoon. On the left side, once again rocking the Empire, this is 32 Oil Derricks. No Fog 1v1. And on the right side, now playing the Soviets, this is Rhine. Hopefully someone can advise me on the correct way to pronounce that guy's name. I'll try and stick around on the post-game graph a little bit longer so you can see how the name is actually represented. I should have some links to the brackets and also to, but spoiler warning for the brackets, but also to Red Alert 3 BattleNet if you want to jump on and join some of the action happening over there on the BattleNet. And of course, this is the Gathering Storm tournament, sponsored by MediaStorm. Mostly just Tim over at MediaStorm, who was nice enough to be putting up the $2,400 total prize pool for this event. $2,222 is the prize pool for the Gathering Storm tournament portion of it. And then we have a couple of show matches here as well that'll hopefully give us a better showing than that Flak Trooper got as he exploded the dojo and also exploded himself. Early infantry spend, mostly just Imperial Warriors, so it's not cheap, it's not free rather, but it is not too expensive. If you're putting out a bunch of tank busters, then it really does get spendy, but obviously if you're having to clear buildings where you're losing $150 every time a conscript throws a Molotov, that does get expensive quickly for the Empire player. But as I said, this is the Gathering Storm tournament. This is the BattleNet Qualifier. So if you want to check out the bracket, you know, be forewarned. Ooh, mine does get deployed, and the Tengu tried to run away, so the Tengu doesn't actually kill that Flak Trooper. I mean, the Flak Trooper dies to the second Tengu, but okay. Super Reactor has been done for a minute or so. Hammer Tank is now up and around, and this is the saddest wall-off we've ever seen on a refinery. He just didn't bother walling the one side, probably for defense reasons. I don't know. I assume, though, the terrain here isn't bugged. On some maps, walling off is quite difficult because the terrain is a bit bugged. But I assume it's not here on Temple Prime Reloaded. But I assume he was just doing that for defensive reasons. But then, with the additional sell-off of the wall, it looked super janky. One refinery, one oil derrick, I should say, per player. And then the refineries coming up. The third refineries, one on the water, one on the high ground for each player. Going to be evenly matched on economy, although right now the Empire player is a little bit ahead. Oil derrick, 32 oil derricks. He's wishing he had 32 oil derricks because he'd be even further ahead. But, you know, he's a couple $100 ahead of the Soviet player, and he's got that refinery up and working, maybe a smidge faster. Chopper VX will be able to deal with this sickle nice and easy. Not a lot of harvester harassing going on, but the sickle did move across the map, did see what the Soviet wanted to see, did see what the Empire was up to. Now this dojo going to be going down. No need to leech it with the hammer tank because the hammer tank is already full health. Tengu coming off down here to the south side, gets tagged by the Bullfrog, takes a lot of damage, but now the Bullfrog will return the favor and take a bit of damage himself. Gonna keep pressing on forward, no leech to try and steal the weapon, and that's gonna be a run, because that is 3 Chopper VXs. They deal with the one Bullfrog very easily, and the Imperial Warriors inside of the building get lucky and kill the Terror Drone as well, so it's a nice safe landing for those strikers as the Bullfrog pushes forward. And unlike that first series that we were checking out, which you have already potentially missed a Gathering Storm video, we were looking at the Command & Conquer Online qualifier, a best of 5 from that, which was very, very harassment heavy. And oftentimes Empire players do play very aggressive, they do play very harassment-oriented, and we've seen a little bit of that, but not a lot of that so far in this series, but it's starting to pick up now with 2 Tengus dropping in 2 different locations. The main base is under a little bit of an assault, and this is the situation where the Soviet player may have an equal number of harvesters and refineries and oil derricks to his opponents, but not working harvesters. And that Terror Drone locks down the Mecha Tengu, but it's going to take forever for that Leech Beam to actually kill it off. This opens up an opportunity for the Chopper VXs to close in. The Bullfrogs are not directly on top of this fight, but well, he actually might be okay, trading 0 hammer tanks for 1 Chopper VX. And all the rest of the harassment, if it'll actually be a problem here, as the harvesters are getting back to work, hammer tanks, bullfrogs, and terror drones. A little 3-man hit squad, a 1-1-1 hit squad, moving around the map. Kind of the perfect combination there if you've got the micro to get the mileage out of the units. Looks like the hammer tank did end up going down there, right on the edge of death, ends up falling. 32 oil derricks trying desperately to find a new economic advantage, but he hasn't found much of one. He was a few $100 ahead in total resources gathered, and he remains in that same position, just barely ahead of his Soviet opponent. But he's trading out quite a few Tengus to do it. Down there on the Army Value tab, it is favoring 32 oil derricks, and with that group composition, right? You know, Tengus and Chopper VXs, it always depends on what mode they're in. If the Tengus are on the ground and the Choppers are in the sky, then you can destroy anything on the ground. But if the Bullfrogs catch out those Choppers in the wrong mode with the right angle, there's also a tech airport on this map, then those Bullfrogs can absolutely shred that Army Value advantage that we see for 32 oil derricks. Speaking of the oil derricks, both of them remain unharassed. Neither one of these players has gone for the kill on the other one. The War Factory under threat. This is actually some big damage from those Chopper VXs. They're going to abandon their target and try and jump on top of these Bullfrogs. Can they actually get them all? They have point defense drones for that additional armor and damage dealing ability as they're jumping on top of the hammer tanks, getting even more life and value, but ultimately they're just falling one by one. Bullfrogs finally going down. The MiG has been dealt with by the Tengus, and now they can unleash terror on this Soviet base. Third refinery should be going down, and what is the response from the Soviet player? Not a single target has actually seemingly died to these Chopper VXs. They've got ADHD just constantly changing what they're shooting at, and now they get the MiG, they turn around, and they're going to have to run away because the hammer tank is coming for them. Tengu's going to be all on the ground to try and fight this hammer tank, and the Chopper VX is just hoping that that timeout happens so they can transform back into the sky. And there they go. Bullfrog goes down, Tengus transform as well, and now the hammer tank can fall. How much damage can actually be done now that everything is in the sky? The strikers are going to target down these MiGs, try to get them before they get off the deck, but it's just not fast enough as another chopper goes down and the satellites rain down. They maybe clip the wings of a couple of units before they transform and go for the Bullfrog. This Soviet defense just feels like it's falling apart, and yet everything is still operational. Somehow this half-health War Factory is still at half health. It feels like it should have died twice already, but it's still alive, pumping out hammer tanks, pumping out Bullfrogs, trying to keep this hope alive, trying to keep this defense alive. And now with the strikers in the air, the MiGs getting shot up, this should be a shutdown for the Empire player. He should be able to crush what is here for the Soviets. Another Bullfrog comes out to, no, it's a hammer tank with a Bullfrog upgrade as well. The Tengu's leading the charge, trying to buy some space for those Chopper VXs. A fresh Chopper VX shows up. That's going to be a hammer tank going down as well as two Bullfrogs. No, they go for the transform once again, and this War Factory still stands. The Crusher Crane has gone down, the repairs are eliminated, but the War Factory still stands. Bullfrog clips the wings of another Tengu as the Crusher Crane comes back up. Am I stupid, or is this like the least efficient attack that has ever happened? I feel like there's a million Empire units that have gone down, and the result on the Soviet side is they've just been trading out units. It's just like unit for unit, but the Empire player isn't getting anything done. And now it's... is it 5 oil derricks for the Soviet player? That's 4 working harvesters on the Soviet side, and now a distinct economy advantage for Rhine and not for the Empire player. It feels like 1,000 actions and a flurry of activity have yielded not much of an advantage for the Empire player, and maybe even not much of an army advantage either for the Empire player. The Empire army is still powerful, but after that flurry of activity, I feel like there should be something more to show for it. The economy advantage is on the Soviet side, back up to 5 working harvesters now. The oil derrick did go down, so 32 oil derricks, trying to live up to his name of being 32 oil derricks for him. Although over the course of this tournament, he may actually capture 32 oil derricks. He's already at 3 so far just in this one series. Although if he goes the distance, maybe he can get 32 oil derricks in this one series. Tengu's going to be moving in. Chopper VXs as well. Bullfrog's going down. There's a big transform. Almost every single Tengu goes down. Only 3 of them manage to survive onto the ground. And the Chopper VXs have to abandon the sky and stomp around on the ground where the hammer tanks are tearing them apart. The Tengus haven't been able to tear apart these Bullfrogs, so the Choppers still can't transform. They've got point defense drones, but they've also got another Bullfrog. No, that's another hammer tank to deal with as Chopper VX goes down, and they close the distance. That's a dead Bullfrog, but the hammer tank leeches the weapon, and everyone dies. The hero hammer tank, the hero of the people, blasts the Empire out of the motherland and makes safe his base. No way, he got that timing so perfect. Are you kidding me? Ryan nails the timing, leeching his dying Bullfrog to heal his hammer tank for a split second, but grab the Bullfrog's flak cannon. Unbelievable timing there for Ryan. Another Harvester potentially going down there. Another Tengu chased off the side. And we just have to take another look at that army graph. It is still heavily favoring the Empire player just in terms of army unit or army value per unit, because he's basically at a 1-to-1 ratio of $1,000 per 1 unit that is in his army. Twin Blades now going to be moving out. Tengus are here as well. And that's the pure army value graph. As you can see, it used to be 5K in favor of the Empire player, and then it swung nearly 3K in favor of the Soviet player. So that's total army value, not divided by the units. Big shout out to Double Evil for the new graphs integrated into the Battle Scry overlay system. As always, we're working out the bugs, trying to test things out, and hopefully a new version of Battle Scry will be coming out soon. That's going to be the Emperor's Rage, just to give some extra firepower to this Tengu. He's fully heroic, and he is ready to tear apart these Soviet units, but it just won't happen. The micro is too good from Ryan as he nails that Tengu with his MiGs, and he doesn't let one die. Unlike the Bullfrogs on the front line that just got shredded by those tank busters. The economy still in favor of Rhine. The army a bit in favor of Rhine, but we'll see how the engagements are handled. Keep in mind that's our hero hammer tank there on the front line. Tank Busters now going to be able to get into the fight that the Bears have been dealt with. Hammer Tank going to surround these units, and that army value means nothing if it's Chopper VX is stomping around on the ground with nothing to fire at. The Hammer Tanks obliterate the Empire forces, and that's a flak cannon lined up, ready to shoot anything that takes to the skies with that hero Hammer Tank. As the conscript goes on a scouting run, and he sees the double dojo transition coming in from the Empire player. A little bit of harassment coming in. Yari Minisub looking for the angle, looking for the target out there on the water. The front door hasn't quite been broken open just yet, but this high ground refinery doesn't even have the harvester restarted there, as this terror drone is going to tear apart that harvester on the water. And a couple of tank busters are here. The dogs and the bears are no more because they were only on the high ground, and the hammer tanks are going to have to run for the hills. But that tank buster is going to get himself an upgrade, get himself a promotion as he heads into the front line, and he gets a kill. Triple Yari mini sub harass. A very efficient 2,400 credits spent by the Empire player to be able to harass 3 different water refineries at once, pull those harvesters off the line. Another refinery on the high ground going to be going down. The oil derrick, the advantage for the Empire player. 32 oil derricks, I think, briefly had a per minute income advantage, even though he was down in the total resources gathered, as this is a map with quite a lot of refineries on it. There are 7 harvesters working for the Soviet side of the map. Now only 6 as the Yari mini-sub sinks 1 out there on the water, and the Tesla coil gets ready to fire off its electro beam. Tank busters on the front line. Hammer tanks gonna be guided in by the bears as satellite drops on the power plants back behind, and the Tengus go for the transform. Emperor's Rage will help keep this Empire army alive, and it's mostly the hammer tanks that have survived this first wave of the fight, which means the tank busters can finally come alive, slice and dice them to bits, and those lasers cut them down and melt them into scrap. Hammer tanks pulling back. Harassment has abated. Akula subs sharking around, waiting for the Yaris to spring into their trap. Yeah, a couple of Tesla coils makes it an expensive expansion, but at least it is mostly kept safe. Is there an angle for the Yari mini sub? Okay, he can not hit that harvester. Okay, I guess the harvester survives. Oh, Tango gets sniped right out of the sky. Where are the bears? Are they crossing the map? They are. 3 hammer tanks, 4 bullfrogs on the front line. Bears as well, not able to be intercepted by this cohort of Tangus as they swing back by. And it looks like the Yard mini sub actually can tag that harvester, forcing it to upgrade its adaptive armor, and the subs will pass each other like ships in the night, or ships in the day in this case. Hammer tanks pressing forward. Empire army isn't quite anywhere to be seen. Nanotech mainframe on the way. That's a big spend on something that doesn't shoot back just yet. Wave Force artillery nowhere to be seen, and that's still a tier 2 mecha base, so it's going to be a minute before that tier 3 can be activated. Tank busters back onto the ground. If the bears can be dealt with, the tank busters can deal with the hammer tanks, and that's a fresh bear dropping into the battle. He does not manage to trick the Tangus into transforming to snipe the bear in the air. And 32 oil derricks. He was not able to get the damage done on the other side of the map that he was hoping, but he has held the line. He's lost on the high ground, he's lost out on the water, but he has held the line down back at home. Okay, additional war factory. Is his problem really that he's got too much cash? I think it might be a different problem as the oil derrick gets targeted down as these Akula subs are crossing the map, looking to take a bite out of the expansions of the Empire player. Yari mini subs will be able to trade back for that Akula. Nice easy kill there for the Yaris. Where the bears, there they are. The bears coming up, the terror drones as well. Bears gonna get on top of this army. That's gonna be a lot of dead tank busters, and that's a bit of a drop off there as this is an army value green graph for the Soviet player. The economy starting to fall apart for the Empire player as well. 10k per minute for this big Soviet army as the Empire of the Rising Sun is having their door knocked on by the KGB as the GG comes out, and 32 oil derricks is going to drop game number 2 of this series. Not a fun one for 32 oil derricks. Started out with some attempted attacks that just found no ground, and then it was up to Rhine to be able to put the pressure on, slowly build the economic lead, and eventually steamroll over the Empire. And that sends us to the dark nighttime here on Epicenter Island for game number 3. It's a match point scenario, which means it's going to have to be a reverse sweep. No more mistakes here for 32 oil derricks. No fog 1v1. Meanwhile, on the right side, now rocking the Empire. Can he complete the trifecta, the perfect series? This is Rhine. I mean, that would be magnificent. 1 win with each of the 3 factions in a perfect 3-0 sweep. Couple of tank busters coming out nice and early for 32 oil derricks. This is a bit of an unusual map. We don't see it all that often, and while we do have a fairly standard refinery layout, you've got like a third that's fairly close, your natural, and then these naval expansions are also like not that far away, but they are quite open and exposed. But of course, the real feature of this island is this set of buildings, which can be a huge money trap or if you've got javelin soldiers, they can also be a huge anti-air deterrent if you throw a couple of flaks or a couple of javelins inside of these buildings to help guard your exterior. In this case, Empire players, not a lot of stuff that shoots up in the early game in general, but especially that can be garrisoned in buildings. So Epicenter Island, the center of it, featuring these hospitals as well, is a bit of an unusual one with this city there in the middle, and I think maybe these players will just try to ignore it, in part because they don't have javelin soldiers. That's a lot of Tengus. Ryan looking for the angle. 2 sudden transports versus these Tengus, and one of them is actually okay, so it's just 1 sudden transport versus these Tengus as the tank busters pop out for both players briefly there for Ryan as the Tengu drops on top of those tank busters and manages to get a kill on at least one of them. The sudden transport does manage to escape. 32 oil derricks getting trapped. That's 6 Tengus on one side, and now he's gonna try and slip by with this sudden transport, get up close and personal. An absolute knife fight here in the first couple of minutes as these Tengus are just waiting for their opportunity to transform. Can they actually trap the forces of Ryan here as 32 oil derricks has the closer reinforcements and these tank busters slicing through those Tengus, but it's not enough. Ryan gets pushed back for now. He's going for one last kill, and he gets it. The Tengu v Tengu action gets left behind as that one Tengu is just trying to escape. Harvester going for the harassment, and the Tengu will return home to get a kill and lock down that last Tengu that's stuck behind. 32 oil derricks is in low power mode. Sniping that power plant means that even though they may be on equal economy, they may be on equal production. They're not on equal production times. One war factory is not equal when it's low power mode. Oil derrick now under threat. This Tengu fight is going to get a lot harder if his lights come on and then he suddenly loses in oil derrick. It's 4 Tengus versus 2. It's about to be 3 versus... I don't even know as the numbers are changing on both sides. One goes down, and the army is just massively in favor of Ryan. But we'll see if he makes any mistakes. The Harvester once again off the line. Even with the refineries, it just doesn't matter. The snowball has been rolled, and it looks like 32 oil derricks will be defeated, dropping down to the lower bracket where he will have another shot at making it into playoffs. Ryan advances into the round of 32. He has survived with the perfect 3-0 Allies, Soviets, Empire, the perfect run. And that sends us back to Deep Sea for game number 1 of a fresh best of 5. In the north, laying the Empire, this is Lulu Almond? That can't be right on the auto-translate. But in the south, he's someone that you may be familiar with. Also opening Crane first. This is GreenAlert. The new meta here in Gathering Storm. I assume this is something people have been doing for a while, but not so much in the games that I have been seeing. But we do have the Crane first. Right into the super reactor as well for GreenAlert. So we do have that similar kind of an opening that we saw from 32 oil derricks, or no, it wasn't 32 oil derricks, it was someone else on the other side of the server, I think. And we do have GreenAlert participating in the BattleNet Qualifier. Some of you may be familiar with GreenAlert. Normally we see him over on the Command & Conquer Online side of the server, not on the BattleNet side of the server, but he does play a ton on the BattleNet side of the server. And one of the things about having the dual tournaments, or the dual qualifiers for the event, is that technically players can participate in both if they've got the chops. And in this case, GreenAlert is trying his hand in the BattleNet Qualifier. We'll see how far he can go, but he was one of the familiar faces who signed up for the tournament, so I did want to check in on his games and see how he's going to go, especially because I have no idea who his opponent is, and he is Tesla Coil pushing him. We've got a flak cannon and a Tesla Coil coming up with the barracks as well. Lots of bears to help stop any tank buster attempts. And on the other side of the map, it's a burst drone on top of that ore collector. So this is not like the other crane openers that we saw from those players. This is an entirely different kind of a crane opener, and something that we have seen long ago in Red Alert 3, and it does come back every once in a while, but obviously not very often for very good reasons. Barracks did stick around on the other side of the map, and he hasn't been able to grab his opponent's oil derrick, so there are some potential difficulties there. Fresh reactor coming up, and okay, that is it. Lulu is out. Green Alert is up 1-0 in this series. Not how I was expecting that to go, but glad to see a familiar face getting a win. And in just a couple of short minutes, we find ourselves with a 1-0 lead for Green Alert. How will Lulu Almond be able to strike back? Once again, feel free to let me know what these players' actual names are. And if we see them a little bit later, then I'll have a better idea. It's Crane again. He's not going for another Tesla Coil push, is he? We've got the barracks coming out. Engineer is a little bit delayed, but he does want to make sure that the engineer is going to be safe with... Oh, the mine did get deployed, but it did not kill off that dojo core. A couple of conscripts going to be able to push that away for the current moment. Burst drone keeping an eye on everything on the Soviet side of the map as the super reactor is coming up as well. And the conscript getting an upgrade as well, getting the kill on the dojo, and should open up a path for this engineer to come on out and jump into that oil derrick. You really do need the additional income. You need to make sure that you get that up and running. Still no engineer here for Green Alert. Still just a lot of bears pushing to the other side of the map. Super reactor is nearly done. He's down to his last 500 bucks as he crosses the map. And quite a lot of bears does mean quite a lot of cash being spent very early on as well. Super delay on the engineer. But, okay, he will finally get it out now. Don't think the burst drone has anything to latch on to be able to detonate on top of that engineer and get a kill there. Conscripts going to be joining their bear friends, and this is a lot of walls coming in for the Empire player. Mecha Bay is up straight into Tier 2 as well, so he wants those Chopper VXs to be able to deal with the Tesla Coil, but with the flak cannon coming up at the exact same time, this is going to be a narrow margin to try and make this work for the Empire player. Oil derrick is up and running. There's the Chopper VX. There's the Transform. What is his target? The flak cannon is already done. He's going to try and target the flak cannon, but that Chopper VX is not going to survive, and he actually dies. He didn't even pull it back soon enough. He can't stay in range of the flak cannon, but he didn't even get an opportunity to head back for repairs, and that's another GG as Green Alert puts a second point on the board. He's not going for entertainment value. He is speed running this thing. And all right, welcome to Epicenter Island. Can we go 3-4-3? Because Green Alert is currently sitting at match point. Lulu needs your energy, and Green Alert is going for another crane opener. And at this point, I don't know what else to expect from Green Alert. One additional dojo down here in the south for our Empire friend. Walls nice and early, very complete wall off, so this is reading the play as well as he can. He's into the Mecha Bay. He did, yeah, it looks like he just got the one dojo, well, in addition to the one that you get for the oil derrick. You're always, if you're Empire, you're always getting that oil derrick dojo. On some maps, you do get 2 dojos for the double oil derricks to try and play the risky card. Bear is going for the scout, so GreenAlert will know what is going on, and he's got scouts in both the north and the south to try and see everything that is happening. But the burst drone spots the fake out. The dojo is heading around the back of the base, and onto the high ground goes the oil derrick capture and the third refinery. So after 2 games in a row of Tesla coil pushes, and after 3 games of fast crane action, we've got ourselves a third refinery in almost record speeds from GreenAlert. Dojo ends up going down right at the back of the base there, and the war factory did get constructed in a very safe spot. 75% cash back on that MCV, and that's going to be a nice cash infusion for our Soviet player. Basically 10k total resources gathered, and I think a portion of that is the cashback on the harvester, on the MCV, not the harvester. And that burst drone is getting a lucky day as that sentry gun is not paying attention. Might even just force fire on the ore collector to do that last bit of damage. Tengu Harass finally coming in. The Empire player getting to attack the Soviet side of the map for the first time in this series. Tengu narrowly misses, and if GreenAlert loses here, does he just go back to Tesla coil pushing for the rest of the series? It worked in the first 2 games, and then the one game he doesn't Tesla coil push, he ends up getting beaten. So you might as well go back to the Tesla coil push. Conscript's going to help clear out some of these buildings, take them over for the Soviet Union. A couple of more Tengus spreading around the map, and it's a third refinery up and running for our Empire player as well. Bear ends up getting sniped, and of course the mecha bay was early, but it looks like it's a tier 1 mecha bay. Okay, make me a liar, as he's going all Tengus for the first couple of minutes of the game, and now he will be able to mix things up because it was the crane into that very fast super reactor, we of course have hammer tanks out on the field for a minute or 2 from the Soviet player. Terror drone leading the charge here, and again, we've seen this from other Soviet players. This is the perfect combination of hammer tank, bullfrog, and a terror drone for maximum efficiency and maximum micro opportunities between the leech beam of the hammer tanks, their main gun, and the terror drone. And then of course you've got the bullfrogs for the anti-air. Wow, it's a quick 3-0, and with the pressure coming in, Lulu taps out, and GreenAlert advances out of the round of 64 into the round of 32 in the upper bracket. But do not fear, our Empire friend has another chance in the lower bracket. And as we're heading into the next series, I do want to give a special thank you to the referees and the admins, especially over on the BattleNet side. On the CCO side, Edvin has been helping me out, but the BattleNet side was run entirely by some of the folks from the Chinese community, and that is, I'm going to say all of these names wrong, but Lanyi, RC, Turs, Juke a Litter, and then there's 2 or 3 other folks that I don't know their names, but they have been helping out with the BattleNet qualifier, so huge thanks to them. They assembled a nice team of, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 people, all to join in on this tournament to help me out in running the BattleNet qualifier side of things. In the north, playing the Empire, playing the purple, this is Top. And in the south, playing the red allies, this is River. River versus Top, and as you can see there, CCZD Top is the name. I believe CCZD is a Chinese clan. There's another Chinese clan that starts with a Y that I am blanking on, and I believe they're 2 different clans, but those are the only 2 that I am familiar with or that I remember seeing around the place over the years. There probably are more, but for the current moment, I'm only really familiar with a couple of Chinese clans, and CCZD is one of them. Top is a player that I've seen the name, but I don't know that I've ever seen a game from him, and he has got a fast third refinery. He is pressing hard with these Imperial Warriors. This is an all-infantry push into a sub-2-minute third refinery coming out from our Purple Empire. It's going to be a much faster airfield here. First Vindicator a little bit slow, but certainly faster than what we're going to be seeing from the Empire player. And this is all Imperial Warriors to just keep the pressure up on the Allied side of the map. Now, this Vindicator has already dropped his bombs, but River has suspected something and is going to be crossing the map and looking for the scout. He, of course, can't do anything. He dropped his bombs on those Imperial Warriors, and the Apollo will finish up the scout. See the timing of the Mecha Bay, 2 minutes and 30 seconds nearly on the deploy time of that Mecha Bay. An extremely late Mecha Bay by most standards, but in this case, the third refinery, will it be punished? That's the question here. It's not going to be a fast tier 2 from the Allied player. We are seeing a posturing towards that third refinery. So yes, it is going to be the third refinery pretty quickly here from River to match the economy of the Empire player. However, he will be just a little bit behind, as you can see there. A little bit of an earlier start for River, but then once everything got up and rolling, Top has been dominating the economy here in the first couple of minutes. Airfield is out, and as I mentioned, we're looking for that tier 2 because Tengus are going to be coming out very soon to contest with these Allied units. First couple of Tengus have been spotted. Apollo scared away, and the Vindicator does have his work cut out for him, but the next move of the Allied player is going to tell us a lot about how he is feeling. And Vindicator's just dropping their bombs. Whatever it is, we have been waiting for it for a minute. And it's not going to be tier 2. Could be going War Factory, could be going something else. And there it is on the front line. He's hoping his chances are better on the ground than in the sky. Top does have control of that building, so he's got a little bit of a vision there, and he has successfully kept the Allied player on the Allied side of the map. More than 5 Tengus out on the field. I think there's at least a couple more somewhere other than that. But at the very least, he's got those 5 burst drones slowing down that harvester on the south side of the map. And the Tengus will swoop in, catch a stray from a Javelin soldier or an IFV roaming around the place. And the IFV is going to help clean up these Imperial Warriors. Top, he goes for the fast eco. He's now only 2k ahead in total resources gathered. Maybe close to 3k ahead as he cleans up the last of these Imperial Warriors. And what has Top done with it? He did not rush to tier 2. He did just produce a bunch of Tengus. I wouldn't be surprised if now that he's got a healthy number of Tengus that he switches over to that tier 2, opening up the possibilities for choppers and for tsunami tanks. Couple of IFVs pressing out on the front line for the current moment. Tengus could transform and drop onto them. We'll see where they decide to go. It looks like it's going to be Harvester harassing, splits off a couple of Tengus for different targets. And is he going to go for anything beyond that? Harvester's under threat. Burst drone will jump off. And of course, the Vindicators and the IFVs are going to return to base to try and defend this location. One Vindicator will go down, but so does a Tengu or 2 as they get cleaned up attacking those Harvesters. But now they find themselves on the ground so they can fight against the IFVs. Burst drone goes down. Walls are being manually repaired. Not something that we see very often, but here the IFV's getting caught between a rock and a hard place as another Vindicator comes in for another bombing run, and there's only 6 Tengus left. 6 might be a bit deceptive because one of them is very close to death, but where's the other Vindicator? It was never rebuilt. He lost one Vindicator a minute ago, but he never rebuilt it. He's got 1,400 in the bank, and now the IFVs are actually getting some massive work done on those Tengus, but it's 5 fresh reinforcements ready to fight against the Allied war machine, and they're getting knocked out of the sky. First one goes down, and 2 more go for the transform on top of those Harvesters. It's going to be a slow eco game for the Allied player. He's trying to counterattack on the other side of the map. A single Guardian cannon, Guardian tank, here to knock down that Harvester with a couple of Peacekeepers as well. The economy is hurting on both sides, but it's hurting a lot more on the Allied side of the map. Javelin soldiers going to be getting cut down. Peacekeepers continuing to work away at that refinery. Meanwhile, the Guardian tank has abandoned his friends and has left their shotguns to just work away at this building. Harvester can come up, switch over to gun mode, and mow down those Peacekeepers as the Guardian tank will press forward and look for another target somewhere else on the battlefield. Harvester now going to get frozen potentially by the cryo shot. He gets out of range just in time, and he should be able to clean up those Peacekeepers. And there's the Tengu who's going to go for the transform. That's a dead Guardian tank. The Harvester has not been restarted. There it gets started right away. And this refinery very close to death, but still alive. Peacekeepers trying to hunt it down, trying to kill off that last structure. And the refineries have not been repopulated on the Allied side of the map. Only one Harvester versus the two of CCZD top. He should have 3 coming online very soon. No, he's stuck halfway. He was low on cash and unable to produce that last Harvester. So it's 2 versus 2 for the current moment. But of course, it's 5K total resources gathered advantage for the Empire player, and the harassment will continue. War Factory had to be sold off to make ends meet. Tier 2 got upgraded, but now the only thing that he can build with it is cryocopters, and it looks like he just doesn't have the cash to make that happen. Fresh building, he's trying to produce something, but he just doesn't have any income, and now the MCV is going to have to pack up, or it's going to be GG as River goes down, and Top puts the first point on the board. The fast 3 refineries paid off big. And that sends us on to a very familiar battlefield, Infinity Isle, for game number 2. And we, of course, are sticking with our Allies versus Empire matchup. We get the barracks first from the Allied player. Infinity Isle, classic map. Walls coming up at the back, so this is going to be very complete walls, but also drafted very early. And I think it, technically slows down the refinery by 1 or 2 seconds. Shouldn't be enough that it will actually matter. But if this is going to be fully encased refineries, that's going to be a little bit of extra cash down the drain right from the beginning. Meanwhile, the walls are looking a little bit extra here on the Allied side of the map. He could be encasing an airfield there on the front line as the dojo pushes out, and both players have their oil derricks nicely under their control. Refineries coming up. There's the finish off of the walls. A little bit of extra space in there for that airfield. Sometimes you will see a player stick a javelin trooper or 2 in there, but he didn't actually do that. River has left it vacant for the current moment, but the units will be safe. There's no tank busters on the front line, so the Imperial Warriors can't do anything about those walls for the current moment. And Peacekeepers just going to trade a couple of shots. Oh, the Javelin Soldier was there. Javelin Soldier got cut down, eliminated by that Imperial Warrior. Scouting Dog comes across. Mecha Bay has been spotted, so our allied friend knows what is coming his way. Only 1 tank buster produced by that barracks before it got cleaned up by the Vindicators. The power of just a single tank buster. But the Imperial Warrior is really the one holding the line, stopping that wall from being rebuilt. And this airfield is just getting bursted down by these Imperial Warriors. And that's a dead airfield before the 2-minute, 30-second mark. The Tank Buster knocks down 1 wall segment, and the Imperial Warrior holds the line. The Peacekeepers couldn't get close, and now the Allied player will have to waste an extra $1,000 rebuilding that airfield. Could put it out on the water. Yep, that'll be a much safer spot from those Imperial menaces. As the Tengus come across, a fantastic opening, uses the burst drone to try and knock down the wall, but it only gets it down to about 20% HP. Multi-gunner turret is here, Vindicator is here as well, so these Tengus will be dealt with, but can they get the final damage on this Prospector? It's going to be close, they should trap it, and there it goes down. The repair isn't enough, and that was a lot of Tengus traded back. 3, maybe 4 Tengus, as a 5th one might be eliminated. Okay, he gets transformed. Nicely done there, as this Vindicator can now drop its bombs on those Imperial Warriors. And the Apollos, they were a little bit late. Can they do the damage as he crosses over? No, he's got a lot of friends with him. And the 1 Jet Tengu takes a bit of damage, but he's got 4 friends to back him up. And the units lost tab is looking good for the Empire player. He got his 1 Harvester that he wanted, but he had to trade a lot of units for it. We'll see if it ends up working out. For the current moment, it's fine. He was able to hamper the progress by knocking down the first airfield, by delaying the economy of the allied player, but he wants to do more. If that's the only damage that he does, then no, it will not be worth it. Those Tengus will have given their life in vain. It really would have been great if he could have knocked down this allied oil derrick behind all of that, but he was not able to. Fresh airfield on the front line. The second one hasn't been sold off yet, so he does still have 8 spots, at least for the current moment, as the Apollos get jumped on. Tengu's going to be traded back. 1-2 of them almost going down. The rest of them transforming in good time. Only loses 2, and the Vindicators are here to pick off the remainder. Nice bomb splitting, perfect kills there as 2 more Tengus go down, and now the Empire unit's loss tab is looking worse and worse. At first, it was somewhat justifiable, but it has become less and less so as the game has gone on. The Tengus just aren't getting the same kind of value that they were getting in those first couple of minutes, and now this is going to be a 3 refinery, maybe a 4 refinery allied player versus a 2 refinery Empire player. The economic advantage is going to be growing and growing. The harassment has stopped, so no longer is it 3 refineries, but only one of them is working. It's just 3 working refineries for the allied player. The allied player is sitting in a comfortable spot for the current moment. Vindicators crossing over. Those are the point defense drones. That changes the equation quite a bit as they jump on top of those Apollos, and the Apollos have to run for the hills. The micro is coming in from both players as the Tengus stutter step forward, and the Apollos try to run away to try and time it perfectly. Is a difficult thing with so many units, but it is not perfect as Tengus get slaughtered and Apollos go down, and the Chopper VX is going to get some free damage. The micro was good in the battle, but not afterwards because the Vindicator is so low. It does survive, and the Chopper VX gets pushed away, or the Chopper VX rather pushes away that Vindicator, stops it from being able to do anything else. And units lost have been absolutely vicious in this game thus far. Refinery lane empty here as Top has a fantastic game number 1, but is just falling down here in game number 2. Vindicators come in. They're only able to eliminate one of the Chopper VXs, but there is also a multi-gunner turret at the front door to stop this attack from doing too much. And River evens things up. Slow and Steady wins Infinity Isle as River evens up the score. And that'll send us to Battle Base Beta for game number 3. Who will take the momentum back and move on to match point in this series? In the north, the Red Allies, this is River. And in the south, rocking the purple, the Empire. Give it up for Top. Top versus River. One pretty lopsided game, and then one game that started okay-ish and ended up very lopsided as those Tengu deaths were raking in one after the other. Just a lot of dead Tengus. Great first game from Top, and then not so great second game from Top. River showing a bit of resilience, showing a bit of adaptability there, having to deal with that early airfield kill and being able to get the 3rd refinery out, keep everything at bay, and then put on a bit of pressure on the other side of the map as well. Naval Yard before 2nd refinery. So River changing things up quite significantly here on Battle Base Beta. 3rd refinery going to be getting blocked off by these walls. There are some units to potentially deal with that. Airfield gets deployed. MCV packs up immediately, and he's heading out to the water. So the delay at the 3rd refinery isn't going to be the biggest deal here for the allied player. River is going to be able to clear that out in due time and get the water expansion first. Burst drone spots the MCV on the move perfectly. A couple of dogs hanging out around the place as well as both players target down the other one's oil derrick. These Imperial Warriors may actually be able to get the kill just barely. We'll see if the repair tool has enough DPS to keep it alive, and the repair per second beats the damage per second as that repair tool keeps the oil derrick alive just barely. And now how much do you actually spend repairing it back up to full health, or do you just let it be? You saved it, you managed to keep it alive, but now you want to try and extract as much value as you can. And in this case, he's going to repair it up a bit. Burst drone, it looks like, going down there, and Prospector getting to work, but no third refinery just yet from our allied player, River. Little bit of dog scouting going on through the middle of the map and around the edges as the Tengus look for an extra spot to attack and won't find it just yet. The Apollo is going to try and close in. Riptide, maybe a couple of jabs inside. They look like they're on laser lock, but they're not. They're firing away at those Tengus. They're going to now transform as the Apollos return to base, and these jabs may need to jump inside of some buildings, but the Vindicator is going to come in and swoop for the kill and manages to light one more Tengu up. Send him down to the depths of the ocean, and that will be it for that little skirmish on the north half of the map. Tengus here in good number. Top a big Tengu spammer here in the early minutes of the game. Not a fast tier 2 kind of guy. He really believes in that Tengu firepower. And I mean, of course, over the years we have seen some Empire players who believe only in Tengu firepower, and in all three matchups will just Tengu spam until the end of the game. They build a couple of units, they sell their MCV, and that is 90% of their strategy. And hey, it can work. The Tengu is a feared unit for a reason. Airfield for the repair and a multi-gunner turret here with a Riptide. River does not want to lose that location. Building gets bursted. Tengus drop down. That's going to be a dead Riptide and a lot of dead jabs as well. Traded back for one, kind of two Tengus on the retreat there, but in that case, you probably want to keep the Tengus alive, and you're happy with the dead jabs. You only lost two Tengus. He lost a Riptide and 4 jabs inside of it, so you're pretty glad that that threat is now gone, but you don't want to lose any more Tengus in this scuffle. Defender VX is now out. Apollos are here. Point defense drones haven't been activated just yet. We are getting towards that time of the point defense drones should be an available upgrade here at the 5-minute mark. I almost feel like I can see them getting ready to be popped on, but no, he could have used it to survive those bombing runs, and he does not have the point defense drones ready yet. So those Tengus just going down. The oil derrick got repaired all the way back up to full, so hopefully that does pay off well for the allied player. The Apollos, for the current moment, paying off well because it's kept the Tengus on the ground and allowed the Vindicators to clean up 4 Tengus in the last minute or so. Still no tier 2 on that Mecha Bay, but we do now have a Defender Core in that anti-air mode, of course, to be able to push away any allied aircraft that are hanging around the main base. 4 refineries versus 2. Top has got to make something happen. Again, some kind of activity in the early game is good, but you got to follow it up with something. Cryo shot going to be landing on top of these Tengus. It's going to disrupt the attack pattern for a couple of moments here. Most of the Tengus can avoid the freeze. All of them, actually, can avoid the freeze, but the Tengus that are close to death don't actually get any bonus damage with that honorable discharge, and instead a lot of Tengus go down with not a lot to show for it. The Prospector deploying into a command hub there as this airfield is under threat, but it has been a costly attack for the Empire player. bomb splitting is good, and there is another airfield that these units can transfer to away from the Tengus, as the repair tool is actually keeping this airfield pretty healthy, and you don't need to be that healthy to keep your planes in the sky. Multi-gunner turret will be able to push away those Tengus, and there's the airfield that the Vindicators can move to. Power plant under threat, but River has bought himself so much time, and he's now got a 10k total resources gathered lead over his opponent, and just the total army value is so massively in favor of the allied player. As I always say, you know, it does sort of matter what that army value is in. As you can see, it takes a bit of a dip there from losing that Vindicator. But these Tengus, they need to just buy time. Perfectly done. It's going to take them a hot minute to be able to get to the other side of the map where they need to defend, so maybe the damage is done nonetheless. You may have escaped the fate of death, but you won't be back home to defend your base. The Imperial Warriors are going to have to hold the line with what little is left from the Mecha Bay. And it turns out no one will have to hold the line because the Peacekeepers and the IFVs back on off. Nothing else needed for the current moment from the Empire player. A little bit of damage done to these power plants. Vindicator should be able to come in and finish off this Tengu. And there we go. Gets himself a double vet status. Cleans up that golden Tengu. Cleans up that golden heroic boy. As the Javelin soldiers all go down, 3 of them get eliminated, and 3 Peacekeepers as well. So that Tsunami tank more than paid for itself, as it is. No, it's a GG, as Top has been defeated, and River puts his second point on the board, moving to match point. And that'll take us to Industrial Strength for game number 4. One last chance, all his hopes on the line here in the upper bracket. Down 1-2, this is Top. Great game number 1, not so good games 2 and 3. Let's see if he can close it out with a fast airfield. There are no refineries. This is the fastest airfield you can get. This is River, looking to wash away his opponent in a tide of red aircraft. As the Apollo will go for the scout, the fastest scout possible, the safest scout possible. As he spots that defender core, he knows what is possibly coming his way. We haven't seen the cryocopter just yet, but that is the indication. He goes second refinery. And okay, we'll see what the allied player River chooses to do and whether or not this has all been worth it. Tier 2, no, he's not cryo rushing at all. So this is just Vindicator power. Well, in that case, we'll see. These 2 defender cores they're still going to be useful. They'll still be helpful here. As the engineer finds the perfect timing, we'll be able to get at least the cash back. Not much more than that, but at least he gets the cash back, so the engineer isn't wasted value. And it's going to be triple Vindicator into a 3rd base. So River has potentially completely faked out Top. Maybe Top wanted to get these defender cores anyways, but this looked like a response to he thought he was getting cryo rushed. And I think that Apollo Fighter is actually on the high ground. I think he is invisible to the units down there on the low ground, as the couple of defender cores are going to be sold off, and he decides, I don't actually need the electricity, I don't need the defender cores, and yeah, we are just heading towards a 3rd base. It is being blocked by the Imperial Warrior, so the timing will be revealed here, and the Vindicators dropped all of their bombs on the north side. So it's actually going to be 3 Imperial Warriors here. Are they going to get the knock? They're going to block it again. This is actually a huge delay to the 3rd refinery of River. River canceled whatever he was building there and just decides to like get another power plant or something. I think he might be going power plant plus multi-gunner turret. I'm not sure what the plan is there, but yeah, I think it was power plant and multi-gunner turret is what he queued because he is getting so annoyed with these Imperial warriors, and he just wants to be able to build his refinery. And the Imperial warrior found the perfect spot to hide from that multi-gunner turret. This is becoming a disaster class for River. 2 fantastic games in a row from River. Slow and steady wins the race, and then the fake out game with the no cryocopter rush, and it is leading into a very delayed 3rd base. The economy graph is going to even out in a couple of moments here, but it is oil derrick 3 refineries to now 3 refineries, low power mode on the Allied Empire and Allied side, actually. They both had low power for a moment there. So as I said, things will even out. Another Defender Corps coming up, so he's still worried that he's going to get camped. He's worried about these Apollos being able to just dog his Tengus and knock them down, which an Allied player wants to build aircraft, so having an extra Defender Corps, if you can afford it, is not a bad idea at all. No Cryo Blast to come out, no little Cryo Shot to try and freeze down those Harvesters just yet. We got maybe another minute until that's ready to go. I mean, we can all assume that those are the upgrade paths that he's going to go with the top secret protocols. I guess technically he could go some other direction, but we are more than expecting it to be the advanced aeronautics into the Cryo Shot, which should be ready, again, over the course of the next minute. We can see that start to come into play. Apollos are here. Choppers are also here. The strikers down there on the ground, stomping around. And of course, we've got this Dojo Core, which has been hanging around in Dojo Core form. He has not gone for the deploy. Tengu's going to go for the transform, though, to shut down the Peacekeeper and do provide a little bit of ground cover for these strikers to move out on to the front line. Naval Yard now up and running. And as I said, that eco graph is going to start evening out a bit there. It's no longer the 1.4K per minute advantage that it was briefly for the Empire player. And now it's going to smooth out even more with that oil derrick going down. It's going to be 3 refineries to 3 refineries, and these guys will come very, very close to each other depending on how the harassment ends up happening. This Harvester taking a bit of damage, but he's getting repairs from that garage. A great start to the game here for Top. He needs to stay strong. Would love to see a bit of harassment coming across the map. The cryocopters are now finally out onto the field. There's a decent number of Chopper VXs. There's a couple of Tengus around the place as well. Maybe another Tengu that's Tsunami Tank. Maybe he's producing a couple of more Tengus. It looks like it's all Tsunami Tanks coming out right now. So it is going to be a very powerful ground attack force. And the Chopper VXs, they've got a job. The Striker VXs, rather, have got a job to kill off the air units. The Vindicators just fly too close. That's not even like flying too close to the sun. That's just crashing into a wall when no one's around to make you do it. Black Hole Armor sucking in the rockets there, and this is going to be the fight that maybe decides the game as the Empire player pushes forward, and that's going to be 1 dead Assault Destroyer. What's left to defend the air forces of the Allied player? There's not much. The Cryocopter runs for the hill. The Javelin gets gunned down in the streets, and now the building will get emptied out as the 3rd base is going to be under threat. Cryocopter is still here, but what else is present from the Allied army? That's going to be the freeze ray from the sky. This cryo shot fires off, but there's nothing left to do the shooting after the cryo shot fires. Tengu's going down, but Apollos can do nothing versus the Tsunami Tanks, versus the ground army of the Empire player, which is pressing further forward. Can another Assault Destroyer come out and save the day? This is so many Tsunamis, but a multi-gunner turret plus an Assault Destroyer. Maybe some magic can happen here for River to save the 3-1 scoreline. The MCV under threat, so close to death, but still alive as the Assault Destroyer pushes forward and pushes this army back. But an Assault Destroyer can't last forever, and he falls right there as the MCV gets chased out into the water and sent to a grave down under the ground as the 2-2 comes out from top. He evens the score up, and he will send us to the ace match. And our final game of the series will be decided here on Temple Prime Reloaded. On the left side, rocking the red, rocking the allies. This is River. Getting showed up at the 3rd refinery location by the Purple Empire, who has found his stride. This is Top. Top and River both putting up a good fight. That last game, that 3rd refinery slowdown, causing some problems for River, and it felt like weakening the armor just enough that we got to see Top hit his stride. It didn't feel like River necessarily... Okay, there were a few other unforced errors coming out from River, but River played okay, other than that little delay there. But it was just Top able to super capitalize on that timing and make sure that he always had vision of his opponent, that he always was moving forward with his own plan. And because of the way those builds worked out in the first minute or two, with the early airfield coming out from the allied player with no barracks presence from the allied player, it just gave the Empire player run of the map. And then when the 3rd base got delayed, everything cascaded from there. And Top quickly was able to identify that and go for the plays afterwards. Find further and further advantage from that position. In this case, the Riptide has been spotted. It was the one Riptide into the Naval Yard sell-off. And this is Temple Prime Reloaded. So there are a lot of refineries available for both players. I believe 7 refineries per player, plus an oil derrick, which is just a huge amount of cash if you can get it. A lot of income is available here on this map. One thing I actually haven't checked. Okay, it looks like the ore mines are still the standard 30k of value, so nothing changes on that front. A couple of Javelin soldiers are about to go down as the Riptide narrowly escapes. The Tengus surely will give chase, but how many more will go down to the allied air units as another Tengu gets eliminated, and the Apollos are keeping a careful, watchful eye on these Tengus. A Tengu that is low health really needs to get back to the repair bay, really needs to get some healing up before he gets eliminated. As the MCV moves forward, there's also this little bit of a high ground location, which feels like there should be refineries on one of these high ground outposts, but there aren't. The high ground refineries are here towards the middle of the map. Airfield once again being mostly walled off by River, not entirely, but mostly walled off. And now the oil derrick has been eliminated on one side of the map. River has the refinery advantage as well. So Top, he has given up the economy. He has got himself a low power mode situation as well. How long can he really last this way? Where's his other power plant? I guess he's going to sell off this barracks. He's going for the airfield. He's going for the tech airport, and then he should sell off this dojo immediately. Apollos do spot this engineer, so now maybe a Vindicator can move in, and it'll force the Tengus to respond. Once this dojo gets sold off, he won't be low power mode anymore, but for the current moment, he is a little bit stressed on that low power. He is climbing up towards 1k in the bank, which, you know, isn't the end of the world. You can spend that cash very easily, as he is right now, so the lower production isn't causing any problems just yet. But it does feel like the better economy of the allied player is going to get out of hand very soon. 3 refineries plus an oil derrick does create a bit of a red wall As you can see, top had the advantage a few moments ago, and now the Tengus will find a couple of Apollos, but likewise the Apollos finding a couple of Tengus. Lucky 2 kills right at the end there, and even with the repairs, the Tengus don't win that fight cleanly, as the army value shows a swing towards River. He doesn't have the repairs in the sky, but he does have the superior army size. Units crossing back over. Tech Airport can be under threat. Okay, he did finally produce that additional power plant. He's got himself back online in terms of power, but he doesn't have much of a plan, I think, for this dojo. I'm not sure what his hope is of keeping this dojo around. The Tech Airport is about to go down, so the $500 from the engineer, I hope it was worth it, as it's now gone forever. Tier 2 is up on this Mecha Bay. That might be where some of the cash flow problems have been coming from. And now the dojo is still sticking around, so it'll just delay any push in the south from the allied player. We'll see what River actually wants to do here, as he kind of looks like he might just turn this into an MCV push after this. War Factory gets added on. One Tengu ends up going down. Point defense drones as well called in, but both of the oil derricks are now gone. We'll see if that actually comes out to matter. Of course, there are those games that go to a position where the oil derrick is the only income left on the map for the players, because they end up knocking down each other's refineries and trying to move around the map, and so those oil derricks are very important. But in this case, they've both been eliminated by the 6.5 minute mark, so it is up to the other forms of income, and there certainly are a lot of them. I am surprised River hasn't either moved his MCV forward or gone for that high ground refinery location to round himself out to 4 refineries. For the current moment, Top is just building up that ground army, and both players are staying very close to each other in terms of army value, but of course River has an extra 6 grand to work with over the whole course of this game. Apollo's moving forward. Tengu's swinging around to the south side, looking for an angle. Can the Vindicators swoop in? Those are IFVs, actually. We should have Cryo Shot locked and loaded for the allied player, so that can be utilized to try and shut down one of these attacks, slow things down, as the Apollos actually catch a striker there. Guardian tank going to be closing in on the other side. It does feel like Top has some pressure. He needs to make something happen. He's down in army value, he's down in economy, and he's just got the perhaps slower building position, as there's even a potential refinery coming up at a 4th location out on the water. Apollos are here. Guardian tank is going to die eventually, and the Apollos get pushed off of the front line. But now the Vindicators are coming in. Laser Painter does spot both targets. 2 dead strikers as the Tengus transform, and the Apollos find the angle. River brings it all home here in game number 5, as Top falls to pieces and will tap out of the game, dropping down to the lower bracket. And that sends us onto Mers Landing for a fresh game number 1 in this new best of 5. In the north, rocking the orange, this is the Soviets. This is Harlen. And in the south, as the Green Empire. Let's see if he can stand up to the pressure. This is Caviar. Maybe. Of course, I'm always looking for help with translations if we see these players again. Harlen playing under the tag Amaranth. So as long as that's still Harlen's nickname from a bygone time, then Amaranth is still Harlen. Green Empire player, not so sure about. Haven't seen them before, not familiar with Caviar as a player, or even if that is the correct translation of the name. But that's what I'm going with so far. And Burst Drone will spot out the engineer. Mers Landing, as we talked about before, has this terrain that can make getting your engineer over to the oil derrick a little bit annoying and a little bit dangerous. And then from there, it is a pretty big map. Ooh, that does not bode well. The engineer jumps inside of the oil derrick, but the mecha bay is delayed by a few seconds there. Just going to be slow on the first mecha Tengu to jump on out. Flak troopers in with the refineries, at least on one side. The other side looks unguarded for the current moment. And super reactor going to be coming up at a very normal time. Not like what we saw with GreenAlert, those very fast crane and Tesla coil push builds, and some of the other Soviet players as well over the course of the tournament, opting for those crane first. Harlen, this is what I would think of as just the most straightforward standard kind of Soviet play. Into the sickle, maybe we got a terror drone. No, it doesn't look like we got a terror drone. Oh, we did, right up there, right off the rip. So get a little sickle action, get a little terror drone action, and then get your super reactor and get your hammer tanks out after that. Terror drone close enough to get shot up, so that's going to be Caviar getting a kill there. His first terror drone kill of this series, and possibly a lot more terror drones headed his way. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Harlen, he is one of the best Red Alert 3 players of the last 5 or 6 years. So he is on the short list for who could win this whole thing. We do have some players on the CCO side that could win the whole thing as well. But you're thinking of players like DDF, Zugspitze, Harlen. If Damon was playing, he would be on the list. Andri, Dutch Army, GreenAlert, Zaid. These are some of the players that you're thinking of. Who could win this whole thing? Who might be able to level up and knock down the others? Those are some of the names, and Harlen is one of the top ones amongst them. Now, I say that, I haven't seen Harlen play in maybe 6 months or a year, so it is possible he's rusty, it's possible he's fallen off. We'll see how he actually does in the event. But he is one of the names that I was hoping to see, and we get to see him here today, rocking the Soviets, and now getting an easy kill on 2 Mecha Tengus. Chopper VX is now out, will be scouted out there by the bear, roaming around the map, if the other Chopper VX hasn't already been spotted. And that's an MCV at a 4th refinery location, and that is going to be a relatively quick, 4 minutes, 4 refineries. That's quick, especially for Soviets, especially if you want to play aggressive. And it is a little bit of a walk to get down here from your main base, from your natural expansion there on the low ground. And the Chopper VXs are going to just run away. They're not going to try and stick around and put any damage out. They actually probably could have gotten some shots off on this ore refinery, forced the repair tool to come out, forced a little bit of cash to be spent by Harlen, and then of course if you start that attack, you always have the opportunity of sticking around to finish it. If you're getting it really, really low, if Harlen isn't paying attention, you might have an opportunity to actually delay that 4th refinery by a significant amount. Bear goes out to the water for the scout, so that will be keeping eyes on basically everything that the Empire player is doing. The second scouting bear, which was traversing out near these refinery locations, finds himself getting shot up by that Tengu. There could also be a relatively short walk to the water expansion out here for Harlen if he wants to go for a full 5 refineries and then keep the corner refinery for the late game if we get that far. But this is a lot of hammer tanks, 4 of them pressing in. One of them is about to get a gun upgrade as well, as the Tsunami tank gets a couple of shots off, and he hands his first weapon over to this hammer tank right here. That hammer tank is going to be putting out extra damage against, well, not all of these Empire units, as a bunch of them are actually in the sky, and that's where the bullfrogs do come in. Only 2 bullfrogs here on the front line. I have to assume that an airfield is going to be coming up relatively soon, or maybe MiGs are on the way, but for the current moment, this army is very weak versus air. Of course, a lot of these ground units, or the ground infantry, don't care anything about Chopper VXs. It does take Chopper VXs quite a while to be able to kill off the stuff that's on the ground from the barracks. These hammer tanks just going to be able to sort of sacrifice themselves for the MCV. Even if they end up going down, killing the Empire MCV is a huge get. And it looks like Caviar is just abandoning his side of the map, and he is going for the kill on the other side. But there are already MiGs here. So that makes this equation so much harder for the Empire player. Transform and die to the hammer tanks, or stay in the sky and die to the bullfrogs and the MiGs. Harlen looking fantastic in game number 1. Kills the MCV, and the Mecha Bay is next. War Factory goes down, and with it, Caviar's hopes of winning game number 1. Slow and steady seems to win the race there for Harlen. No early aggression, no crazy builds, slow and methodical, keeping the Empire player on his side of the map, and Caviar needs to big time step up the aggression, step up the harassment, make something happen to knock Harlen off his game. If you let him macro up like that, he becomes an unstoppable force. Welcome to the Tranquil Garden, the Chrysarel Garden to be precise, as we have in the north rocking the Green Empire. This is Caviar. Down 0-1, needing to put some points on the board. Otherwise, this guy in the south will be on match point. This is Harlen. Harlen representing the Soviets very well. I know some of you folks in the comments, you love to see your Soviet action, and you love to see Demon, Harlen, even DDF when he does play Soviets, rocking out with those wins. Engineer jumps inside of the oil derrick a little bit faster there for Caviar than it will be for Harlen. And of course, in game number 1, it was a slow start into a Harlen snowball. And the question for me is game number 2 going to be a sort of similar slow start into a Harlen snowball? Or will Caviar be able to pick things up the pace? Would be one of the opportunities to potentially try an all-in if it's something that he has practiced. War Factory is up. Super Reactor on the way. Very standard, very safe here from Harlen. Buildings getting cleared out. Most of the time the Soviet player is okay with that, just because conscripts are cheaper than Imperial warriors. War Factory and Super Reactor coming up for Harlen, and then is it going to be into expansion time, or is he going to try to push? We don't have any Tengus out on the map just yet, as the first sickle is walking its way towards the oil derrick. I assumed these Imperial warriors were going to start targeting this oil derrick to either force the repair tool or try and get some damage onto that oil derrick to potentially kill it eventually. But in this case, no. And is it straight to tier 2? It is straight to tier 2. So the no Tengus was intentional from Caviar. We'll see if it actually ends up paying off, but he has opted to skip the Tengus and go straight for the tier 2. Will the Chopper VXs be able to get some damage done? Terror Drone way off down to the south, going now for the Scout. Will also be able to potentially annoy some of these forces of the Empire, as the first Chopper VX is flying its way towards the high ground. Going to be able to target down the sickle, and it has announced its presence. There's no anti-air on the front line. We have to assume a bullfrog is nearby, and there it is. Tags some good damage onto that Chopper VX's, down below half HP as the barracks comes up, and the third refinery as well. What is the choice from Caviar? Is he going to match Harlen in the expansion? He's keeping his MCV around, and he is actually moving it south, angled potentially towards one of these expansions over here. And the Terror Drone pushes forward. Will he actually jump in to try and do anything? Just be annoying for a moment or two. Shouldn't be able to do too much more than that as he heads out. With the War Factory so close by, you can't do all that much. But you can wait until a refinery core is moving out to one of these locations and then try and jump inside of it, because a refinery core might just die before it gets back towards the Mecha Bay for repairs. Hammer tanks out on the field, third refinery up, units in guarding positions, and this Chopper VX is going to have to jump onto the ground. He got caught by that bullfrog caught out in the open. That's a tier 2 barracks. It's now been spotted, so there is definite confirmation on this barracks here. Is he going to do anything about it? Was this the like a sort of Eureka attempt where like you're gonna go for it not at the back of your base and not rushing for it right in the first instant, but you are trying to go for it in a way that you think your opponent won't actually notice? In this case, not much is going to be produced from that barracks, if anything, featuring that tier 2. Maybe there's some shinobis running around the map that I did not see, but for the current moment, Harlen is just getting to slowly build up. Ah, there he is, the one shinobi that I think got produced by this. And he's actually going to cancel his refinery and pack up his MCV. So he did spot the shinobi. Can he do anything about it? Terror drone is moving in. Hammer tank as well. Shinobi going to try and run away. No hope for Twin Blades to sort of swoop in and quickly end that shinobi. But that is a nice attempt. You have to give it to Caviar. He is trying something a little bit different. It has bought him so much time. My big concern is just on the economy front. It is, as you can see 3 minutes ago, it is Harlen favored, and it has only gotten more and more Harlen favored since then. Tesla Coil is here, so that will one-shot the Shinobi and will allow that refinery to be safe. But that economy is favoring Harlen by about 5K over the course of the 5 minutes of this game, and obviously the income per minute is only going to get worse from this point forward. Another bear coming in. The first roar locked a bunch of these units down, but not a lot of them actually fell in the ensuing battle. This first hammer tank goes down. Tsunami tank's now going to be pulling away, and the buildings can be broken open. Harlen has both oil derricks under his control, and a magnificent roar from the bear, but once again, not a lot of guns to actually unleash on these infantry, just the tanks going down. The tsunamis have fallen, and of course the hammers can have a difficult time actually crushing those tank busters when they go down into their hidey holes. You can't go for the crush, so as long as they're paying attention, then you will be fine. Chopper VX goes down. Super Reactor will survive as the tsunami tank pulls back from the front line, and Harlen holds the front door closed. But knock knock, here comes Caviar once again looking to put some pressure onto Harlen. Oil derrick still under Harlen's control. Bears get sniped before they can get the roar off, before they can freeze these units in place. But trading just a couple of tanks is fine when you're up almost 50% or 60% on the income. When you've got the cash to spare, you don't mind trading 1 for 1 on these tanks. Bears cannot find the angle, and Caviar showing some prowess in this control. Pretty much perfect sniping on these bears, zoning away the hammer tanks one at a time, but the defense has broken. The bear gets through, a second roar comes through, massive losses on the Empire side. The dance was perfect until it wasn't. Keeping that front line moving forward was working for a time for Caviar, and then Harlen got that one critical roar off, sniped the last 2 tanks, and it all fell apart at the beginning. Where's the MCV? It hasn't been sold off, and it hasn't produced a third refinery, and this is where we get really worried. 10K in 8 minutes. That's the income difference between these two players. It's about to be 5 refineries. You got to play fast and aggressive. He almost had a winning strategy there with that perfect dance of unit control, the tanks and the tank busters, but then there wasn't enough. And Harlen certainly does have enough. Satellite's going to be raining down on that dojo on the south side of the island, and the GG will come out. Harlen puts his 2nd point on the board. The reverse sweep has to start here. No more mistakes for the Green Empire player in the south. He's on his last shot in this series. He's got to keep it rolling from this point forward. This is Caviar. And in the south, hoping to 3-0 because getting reverse swept would be embarrassing from this point. This is Harlen. Harlen, slow and steady, winning the race twice in a row, but maybe not the 3rd time. Best of fives do give that extra opportunity, and in this case, Caviar having a much better game number 2. Game number 1 feeling a bit flat. Game number 2 having at least one high point there for Caviar. And the Bear and the Imperial Warrior will sort of eliminate each other there. But game number 1 not really having a high point for Caviar. Game number 2 definitely having a high point, and now makes me excited to see more games from this guy. He needs to start with beginning a game number 4 in this series. And a reverse sweep is a daunting task against a player like Harlen. It is a difficult thing to just knock down a guy like Harlen 3 games in a row. Perfect games, no mistakes. Super Reactor coming up. Basically the same build from Harlen in the first 2 games, and now it's starting out in the first 2 minutes like the same game 3 games in a row. Same kind of a build, slow start, go for a very standard Soviet build, push out towards your third, very safe, watching all of the exits. And in this case, Caviar has not pushed Harlen very much. We've seen a couple of other players, Demon being one of them, when he was going through a phase of playing a lot of Empire and also doing a lot of MCV cell builds. Maybe it was just in tournaments, but he was playing Empire, he was MCV selling, and he was Tengu spamming basically every single game. And it's a winning strategy when you're as good as Demon. And you keep up that harassment, you're able to find those angles and find those opportunities to do damage. In this case, Caviar hasn't really pushed Harlen at that angle. Caviar doesn't seem to be an early game player, and that seems to be playing right into the hand of Harlen. Harlen is happy to not do anything in the early game because he actually gets a faster third. Okay, it's being matched this time by Caviar, but Harlen gets the better economy, and in that last game, also stealing his opponent's oil derrick, adding to that superior economy. And then it's just like, okay, if you're not going to force me to do anything, I'm just going to out-macro you because I'm actually going to build expansions. And Caviar didn't, so Harlen, it's a little bit more awkward. This is definitely one of those maps where it sits well to have just 3 refineries and to play off of 3 refineries plus an oil derrick. Because of the ramps, because of the high ground, because of the water, getting your 4th refinery is a little bit of an awkward position whichever direction you go for it. And I feel like most players choose this one out here, potentially even to be their 3rd refinery instead of their 4th. MCV on the move, potentially trying to go for some crushes there as the terror drone gets cleaned up a moment ago. And then the Tengus, it looks like, have also been pushed back to the Empire side of the map. Bear managing to get all the way through for a scout pretty deep into Caviar's base. Sees the Mecha Bay. Is this tier 2? Yes, it is. There, the tier 2 finishes up for Caviar. And Harlen is going for the low ground expansion. And this one is quite close to his opponent's 3rd. So if you plop down an airfield nearby, you have a pretty easy opportunity to send some Twin Blades over into their expansion. Ore Collector now offline. Harlen happy to play out from an economically superior situation. And that's exactly what he's going to be doing 3 games out of 3. And Caviar is just refusing? I don't know, he's kind of just refusing to do anything about this early game. Tank Buster's gonna go down. It's not a perfect game from Harlen, but it's sort of as close as a perfect game as you can get at the current moment. Nothing is getting by him. Airfield is gonna go down back at home. He's gonna have Twin Blades to access. He's going to be able to build MiGs as well, and the Chopper VX already dealt with one of the targets, the Sickle over here. So Harlen knows that it's tier 2. He knows even more now as he's letting this barracks take a little bit of extra damage. The Bullfrog could be trying to defend that location, but Harlen's busy here at the front door. A couple of Tsunami tanks pushing forward, but they don't have any support. This is just one Tsunami tank that's going to die. Give away a gun to that Hammer tank, and the Leech Beam means that not a lot even happens to the Hammer. Chopper VX even going down. He kills the barracks, but what care is a barracks in a game like this? A barracks might as well be useless on the Soviet side. It can be rebuilt so easily, and now the dojo goes down there on the front line. Chopper VXs are here, and in this case, Caviar is staying very even with Harlen, but it just doesn't feel like it. Harlen's army way outstrips that of Caviar, but that is partially because of how many infantry units that Harlen has. Caviar, on the other hand, he's got himself a much higher grade army with fewer units, so we'll see if it actually works out. Refinery goes down, so Harlen has a huge economic advantage now, and the harassment on the other side of the map hasn't gone easily, so these tanks are just going to get traded out against, and the leech beam means that perhaps not even no more than one of these hammer tanks will end up going down, and there's going to be the leech, and the GG comes out. The harassment falls apart, and Caviar gets clean swept by Harlen. Okay, Sybert from the future here. I have to interrupt for this moment. This is one of the reasons why I'm excited to see Harlen. While he's pressuring the front, he's also grabbing the flak weapon from his own dying bullfrog to be able to defend this even better. He had the MiG there. He could have forced the strikers to land or forced them to leave and still would have won the game, but he did it anyway. He grabbed that flak cannon, meaning he had the hammer tank with the flak gun. Perfect combo to defeat those strikers. Unneeded, but awesome. Welcome to Cabana Republic for, I think, our final best of 5 of this video and of round 1 here in the upper bracket of the BattleNet Qualifier. On the left side, playing the Empire, the Cyan, this is Arling. And on the right side, rocking the purple, playing the Allies, this is Turtle. Or maybe Geneva, or maybe it's a different name entirely. Arling is at least how the name is in game, and Turtle, on the other hand, is, I guess, like XYZD, and then, you know, and then a name, but I don't know. And on the bracket, I think his name is Geneva, but in game, I believe his name is Turtle, so I don't know about the purple allied player who went airfield first, way down here in the water on Cabana Republic. Did go 2 refineries, so it is a follow-up that's pretty normal, and it doesn't have to be a tier 2 after this. It is sometimes a tier 2 after this, but okay, no, he's moving his MCV. So this is either a turret push with a proxy airfield, or he is just going for a potential 3rd refinery location, and he's either about to be very surprised. Oh, he may be stuck. Was this MCV supposed to deploy? No, the MCV was supposed to path a different direction. Vindicators on guard over top of both of the dojos, so this does delay the engineer capture from these oil derricks, and now they will pull away for just a moment. Oh, too far! Too far on both of them. He got juked. The Vindicators pulled away, and at first I thought it was Turtle faking out Arling. But Arling is the one who actually got both of the oil derricks now under his control. Sells off, does lose a couple of Tengus, but you're happy to trade out a couple of Tengus for both of those oil derricks. We'll see how long the oil derricks actually stick around, but it's very likely that the income from the oil derrick will outstrip the cost of just a couple of Tengus. Although if that is a ball that starts rolling, then maybe the Tengu snipes will just never stop, and then it'll be a real problem for the army of Arling. But for the current moment, 2 oil derricks minus 2 Tengus. Airfield is still up. Proxy airfield here as well. Not even a proxy airfield, it's just a second airfield here at the expansion. And look at this, the burst drone, I think, impacting on top of that wall does manage to open up a gap, and this will cause a little bit of annoyance. The Vindicator is going to have to come over here, and 1 Vindicator cannot kill 2 Imperial Warriors, so you do need 2 Vindicators, or I guess a 4th bomb, really, to be able to stop the Imperial Warriors, and then you can rebuild the wall. And he does mess up the bomb splitting. He did the reverse of what he should have done. The second bomb should have gone to the other Imperial Warrior. 1 Tengu down, and the Vindicators aren't going to be here to help. So this refinery could have actually potentially been jumped on by those Vindicators, but instead they're still dealing with these Imperial Warriors back here. Nice bomb splitting there, but of course it would have been more impactful a minute ago to shut down that attack a little bit sooner. Refinery will be able to make it up to the high ground, and as soon as he deploys, he will be a lot safer from Vindicator attacks. And look at this, the Air Forces are just streaming across the map. They realize they're too late. They realize they have other targets to worry about, but we do not have Tier 2 just yet, so that means there are no strikers on the ground. It's all Tengus who may be able to catch out these Vindicators. No, the Apollos are going to be pushing forward, and the Tengus are going to be backing off. Refinery could be proxied here, as we do have an MCV pushing across the map. I believe this is still 2 airfields, but no cryocopters from our allied players, so this is much more just like a turret push. Maybe we'll see the proxy airfield come out now that the MCV is here on this side of the map. Could also go for a 4th refinery as a sort of safety measure, since these games can often get very weird when you start out with the turret push. And there's going to be the proxy airfield for those quicker refuelings. This multi-gunner turret is placed very conservatively. You can get it closer to the refinery. It might not even be in range of this mecha bay, but it does, of course, give you more coverage. Okay, the mecha bay is in range, so he placed it, I guess, right on the edge of the range there, and we should have a second multi-gunner turret coming up soon, which can cause a lot of additional problems for the Empire player. And here we go, Apollo's moving in, clipping the wings of a couple of those Tengus, but again, no Tier 2 from the mecha bay, so there are no strikers on the ground, and with the snipe of the power plant, we don't have any defender cores there on the ground either. 3rd refinery is up, plus the double oil derrick, so the income from Arling is pretty good. Vindicators continuing to make their bombing runs, and this is actually triple airfield. He's kept around all 3. He hasn't sold any of them off to make this work. Walls now broken down on both the refinery side and the mecha bay side, so you have to decide, what do you want to deal with, what do you want to save? And the Apollos are, of course, going to be able to shred these Tengus because the numbers don't lie. And now the mecha bay under threat. The walls getting rebuilt as the cryo shot comes in, and Arling has been defeated. Turtle puts the first point on the board of this best of 5. Cabana Republic is owned by the Allies. Oh, observation post. Nobody cares about you. Especially not here on Deep Sea, where the observation post looks over the middle. The middle that may not even be touched by the Empire in the north. This is Arling, or the Allied player in the south. This is Turtle. Or maybe it's Geneva. I don't know. We'll find out hopefully very soon here, as, yeah, the observation post, not a lot of people care about them, but, you know, they've got quite a bit of HP, and every once in a while we do see someone grab them. Bit more functional maybe in StarCraft 2. So we do have the airfield first from Turtle. And, yeah, maybe if a unit could just, like, stand beside it and you got the vision, then maybe it would work a little bit better. But, anyways, we have got the airfield first from Turtle. That has been identified now. Mecha Bay is now out as well. Oil derrick captured on the Empire side of the map, not so much on the Allied side of the map. One of the downsides to the airfield first build is it does mean skipping the barracks, which does delay that oil derrick capture. But, oh, free bomb drop on that. Did he only have 1 bomb left? Ooh. Ooh, okay, that's a bit annoying. He can snipe this dojo core. Will he actually go for it? I feel like these Vindicators, that guy, I think, was just sticking around. I'm not sure what for, but he was sticking around, and now he's going back home. Is this just going to be straight to Tier 2 since he's being camped? And another Apollo does show up as well. Could be just into Tier 2, go for the chopper, go for the striker, rather, getting the defender as well. And yep, there's the Tier 2. So, 3rd refinery is up, Tier 2, and the defender core all here. First bomb drop, but of course the next Vindicator will hit after it's had a bit of time to repair, so this Defender Core may just survive quite nicely. Ooh, no shots fired by the Defender Core, unfortunately, so that Vindicator will survive, but a second Striker should be out soon, and the Apollos have gone away. Cryocopter is now out. Harlen looking like he's in a difficult position. He started out with a competitive game number 1, but now Turtle is bringing the fire. Is this Cryocopter just going to go down? Twin blow. Vindicator runs away as he does drop the bombs. They get missed, but the Cryocopter has at least been held off for the current moment. Cryocopter now going to get the Shrink Ray off, and the Cryocopter is barely going to escape as he gets out of range. The Apollo's not needed as the Strikers are on the ground, and it times out. The Icy Freeze times out. Moments too slow on the Vindicator. The Harvester survives. The Defender Core survives. Everything lives on the Empire side of the map, and all 3 of the Strikers are at full health as well. That honestly couldn't have gone better for the Empire player, and I guess it couldn't have gone much worse for the Allied player without anyone losing units. Obviously, it would have been better for the Empire player if the Allied player had suicided all of their units and just left the game, but aside from that, that was basically best case scenario. He spent the cash on the Cryocopter early. He got the tier 2 before his 3rd refinery. He delayed his oil derrick capture. He did all of these things, and at the 4-minute mark, he had virtually nothing to show for it except the units that were roaming around the map. He didn't slow down the refinery of the Empire player. He didn't snipe any of the units or the buildings, and now he will be able to freeze down a couple of these Striker VXs, and because it was a fast tech to tier 2, there are no Tengus to try and swoop in here and get the last couple of shots against these Cryocopters, so now the dividends are coming in thick and fast. The payoffs are happening as 3 Cryocopters have all survived the initial engagement, and the Strikers are now gone. The barracks was producing tank busters, but now the real problem is, of course, the aircraft. And then the Cryocopter will get another freeze. The Vindicator gets the kill and the credit, and that will be it. Is this another tsunami tank out in the open? Don't stick around to freeze the building. This Striker should be moving into position, and no, the Cryocopters will be able to escape. The first 4 minutes basically could not have gone better for the Empire player. And the next 2 minutes, or the next minute and a half, almost could not have gone worse. Got 0 kills on the Cryocopter, lost a Harvester, lost 3 tanks, or maybe 4 tanks, lost some infantry, lost some Strikers, forced to sell his MCV, everything turning bad now for Harlen, as he's got a 3 refinery plus an oil derrick set up. He's still got the mecha bay, so he does have that opportunity to rebuild the MCV at any point. This is still potentially winnable here for the Empire player with the big cash infusion. He's going to need some big anti-air. The first Cryocopter goes down finally, and not a lot of units have gone down on the Empire side. This is the fight that he was looking for. Cryocopters freezing and nothing killing. Cryocopters shrinking and nothing killing. Couldn't be better for the Empire player. The pendulum swings in the other direction. The Cryocopters come back around. They're just taking damage for free. 1 goes down. Where is anything else to defend in this location? The Cryocopters did their part, shrinking and freezing, but now 2 of the 3 have been eliminated. And where is the ground army from the Allied player? The first wave of the attack went well, but now the shoe is on the other foot, and the Empire is pressing in hard on the Allied base. Engineer coming in, looking for the capture, or maybe he's just looking to watch all of his friends shred the aircraft of the Allies. And here the attack will find its first critical kill. Knocks down the barracks, knocks down the airfield, and now the Cryocopters are going to be left with limited options. Engineer rushing for that MCV. Pack it up, boys, because we got to find ourselves a new home. As the Engineer goes down and the Striker gets crushed, the Tsunami tank gets frozen, but actually not crushed. I thought for sure it was going to be going down. And now with all of the strikers gone, no, there's one striker left. One hero striker, as it's a race against time. The cryocopters can't freeze units fast enough to stop them from actually killing everything off. The MCV running for the hills, but where is he even going to be running to? There isn't much going to be left as he gets blocked by that tsunami, and then GG comes out. Arling puts a point on the board. We've got a series on our hands. And we're back on Mers Landing to see who will take the momentum in this series. Will it be the Purple Allies in the north or the Cyan Empire in the south? Turtle and Arling, never heard of either one of these players. Glad to see them both putting out good games. Turtle, definitely one of those aggressive allied players. Oh, interesting. He didn't go for the extra dojo. This airfield is... Oh, it is an airfield first. Vindicator, easy kill on this engineer. I mean, he activates the speed boost, but it really doesn't matter, and that's perfect for the Vindicator. He gets the kill on the Engineer, he gets the kill on the Imperial Warrior as well. Both targets eliminated. The bomb splitting is perfect. Good choices in a lot of cases by both players, but here Arling saves $500 by not building an extra dojo and pays the price for it. $500 wasted on an Engineer. Vindicator crossing back over. Engineer won't be done in time. There will be an opportunity to potentially snipe it. Oh no, the Vindicator went back to base. Never mind. Does he not realize? Does he realize? He doesn't realize. He didn't see the barracks until it's too late, as Geneva or Turtle will not be able to stop that oil derrick from being captured. Straight into tier 2, we've got ourselves a cryo rush on our hands, and this is a very late mecha bay. You may have noticed because of the opening, there was a 0 on the bank account of Arling for a little while there. He was locked at $0 trying to produce that second engineer over here on the other side of the map. And I guess part of that reason is the third refinery that was quickly produced, and then also the additional engineer that he had to build. Those two things together causing some problems for the Empire player. And it's a good thing that he won that game number 2, because it does mean that things aren't over here. Yeah, I guess it doesn't mean things are going to go south, but he's going to have to do something about his mecha bay. And man, that fast third refinery was such a gamble, and it turned out to be a really difficult gamble as well. It's about to be low power mode in a worse way than that. The refinery is forced to be sold off. The only advantage that Arling has is that Turtle doesn't realize of that expansion is out there. It is completely hidden, but it only has a defender core with it. It doesn't have a power plant as well. Oil derrick captured still for Arling. Turtle hasn't done anything about that. Strikers now going to be trying to push away, and good transform. The Apollo isn't nearby to get the insta-kill on that chopper, but they do find the angle, and the chopper does go down. The Apollo falls as well, so at least something is gotten back for the Empire side of the map. And now that MCV down on the low ground, but still providing the tier 2 upgrade to that airfield on the high ground, and this MCV can now also deploy a refinery there on the low ground. This could turn around here for the Empire player, because he had the super fast third, because it has gone untouched, because he got the oil derrick. He's in an okay spot in terms of economy. He won't be if he's not able to get this third back up and running, but okay, it's already deploying. So as long as Turtle gives him a moment to breathe, he can get out enough Tengus or Strikers or Tsunamis, whichever option he's going for. If he wants to go Tengus and Strikers, or if he wants to go Tsunami Striker, he can go for that combination relatively easily. Might go ahead and sell off one of these Defender cores. He is going to get another power plant, but I feel like at this point you might even want to consider selling this defender that's out here because it has gone unnoticed, and you just need the cash. Rather than spending the cash on an additional power plant, you need the cash in your army. Wasting time. 3 bombs, 2 targets. I mean, you can't ask for much better if you're the Empire player. Your opponent wasting his time bombing out Imperial warriors inside of his own base rather than trying to cross the map and do anything aggressive. But the time will only last for so long. Okay, he's going dojo as well. I'm thinking about the cost here. He could have sold off one of these defender cores and gotten a bit of extra money sooner, whereas his bank account is zeroing out. He's lost the oil derrick. If he sends another engineer slowly across instead of sending the dojo to go get that oil derrick, that will be very difficult. This might even be an MCV kind of sell scenario. Arling has been drawing a 0 on his bank account, so his army is smaller than it could be. He could have another Tengu. He could have a Tengu or 2 out, or another Striker or another Tsunami out for this fight. The Striker does push a little bit far forward, gets some vision at least on this army, and Arling going to cause the allied player to return to base. 3 refineries, 0 oil derricks. Things are even right now. But of course, it also depends on how long these players can keep their harvesters alive. Okay, there's the MCV cell from our Empire player. And is he going to be able to get the engineer over there? No, he actually activated the speed boost on the engineer kind of early, and he's sort of getting away with it. The engineer was just paused there doing nothing, and by the time he gets close to that oil derrick, he might have his sprint ready again. And that would just be good for him if he's able to get that oil derrick. And now it has been spotted. The cryo shot comes in. It misses the ore collector, and the riptide goes down. So nothing even has to be sent over to defend that location. This is now the perfect situation. Everything is now worked out for Arling in terms of he's gotten his opportunity to build up. He got his oil derrick captured without defending the engineer, and he was able to defend that water expansion without sending a single unit over there. So he hasn't won the game yet, but he has had everything for the last 2 minutes go in his favor very well. First Guardian tank does go down. Cryocopters haven't been dealt with, but this is once again a situation where the Cryocopters might be the only thing left standing, and if they can't freeze every unit fast enough, then the ground army for the Empire will just crush everything else. Strikers continuing to absorb the shrink ray from those Cryocopters, but that's fine because the Tsunamis and the Tank Busters are going to tear this base apart. MCV packs up. MCV might be running for the hills, and the Cryocopters can freeze a couple of these units in place, but I'll trade 3 Tsunami tanks for an MCV on the Allied side any day of the week. Goodbye to your tier 2. Goodbye to your production. Goodbye to potentially this game if there is nothing on the ground that can deal with this army, with the walls standing strong as the last couple of Tsunami tanks will be frozen here. And how many of the tank busters can get shots off on this airfield as another Tsunami tank streaming across the map? The ore collector having to be pulled off the line to potentially crush these units. The Peacekeepers were never able to get up close and personal with those tank busters, so everything just gets run over. And once again, the Cryocopters are all that remains. The shrink rays are good, the freeze rays are good, but the lasers are better. Couple of Peacekeepers could have potentially turned things around here. The combination of the Peacekeeper and the Freeze Ray can do powerful things, but not when the numbers are this out of balance. And now with 3 Cryocopters and currently nothing that shoots up, these Peacekeepers can do massive damage and rank up. But no, he didn't shoot it at range! He got close, and then he missed his opportunity. And now another refinery is going down. Both of these players making some questionable decisions in the heat of the moment, making some mistakes, which is of course very understandable. But Arling gets a second game win, 2 in a row, and goes up to match point. And with the observation post in the middle of the map, you know that we're on Infinity Isle. The one, the only, the classic, the eternal. It's infinite after all. And we, of course, have on the left side, winning 2 games in a row, rocking the cyan. This is Harlen. Meanwhile, on the right side, now in the red, channeling all of the great allied players from before him, this is Geneva. Yeah, maybe it's still Turtle. I don't know what this guy's name actually is, but he is going for barracks first. That airfield first almost worked out in the last game, but it just didn't manage to do it. And so we got ourselves an infantry opening from our allied player. No airfield first just yet, and it's not even like airfield after 1 refinery or something. He's going full 2 refineries. Very normal opening here, which a lot of allied players, I feel like it's 50-50. Half of them like opening airfield first on Infinity Isle because the travel time between the bases by air is very short, and this is one of those airfield locations that is very short. You're refueling there. It's just the shortest distance to the high ground, and it's not far to get to your opponent's base either. And then the other half of allied players like opening single barracks most of the time. Occasionally you will see the double barracks action, but most of the time it is just the single barracks. And I feel like back in the day, I don't know, 10 plus years ago, there used to be players who had really strong opinions about no, allied players have to open, well, maybe we'll find out that they're right, but they have to open like double barracks. They have to produce this many peacekeepers versus Empire because Tengus are so strong that you can't lose the early game. You have to be able to push to their side of the map, blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, you wait a few years, things change, and suddenly it doesn't seem like allied players have to open double barracks or whatever the meta build of the day was. It's a turret push. Okay, so we are going for it. I was just wondering how far this MCV was going to go, and he is going all the way. He is not stopping. He is not using himself as a battering ram and then turning around. It's a fast 3 refineries. It's a fast tier 2 from the Empire player, and the dojo will get crushed. Peacekeeper is going to be going into shield mode, and it is the dance of the do-nothings as the Imperial Warriors with their bonsai charge can't actually do anything versus the Peacekeepers with their riot shields. And the MCV is potentially too slow. He almost caught the tsunami tank as he was turning there. Both of the Peacekeepers going to be going down. They don't turn their guns. Oh, another tsunami goes down. That MCV crushing whatever shows up out of that mecha bay. And now it's in a very awkward situation where the Vindicators have to return to base and they have to deal with anything that's over there. But this MCV can crush everything that's nearby it if it stops moving. Don't get too close. Tsunami tank almost got too close. Oh, he did get too close. The MCV going on the destruction derby. It's rally time as the Peacekeeper also gets flattened. But as this MCV, he let that tsunami tank close in and then he died. And now the tsunami tank activates those nano deflectors. And it is a little bit just a who can micro better competition, because the tsunami tank moves faster than the MCV, so it will put itself into the danger zone unintentionally. And then like you saw that, the MCV can go into the reverse move, can potentially go for the crush on these units. When they're shrunk down, it can be a little bit harder because it's easier to avoid the crush. MCV runs all the way back home. Cryocopter going for the freeze on that refinery. And now the MCV will be shrunk to get away from these other targets. There's the nano deflectors activated early, so we can absorb a few extra bombs from those Vindicators. But the Vindicators are going to be looking for the Harvester, looking for the Striker, looking for the Vindicators to just drop their bombs, and then they waste their bombs on the unfrozen ore refinery. A little bit of a slip up there with the Vindicator control, and the tsunami tank is not stopping, so this refinery, this MCV is just taking additional damage. The refinery survives on the other side, the Harvester as well. These Imperial Warriors locked next to the shore, unable to help out, and this tsunami tank now frozen down, won't be able to kill off that con yard. So close for Harlen. He was not able to get that critical last kill, and he will allow the third refinery to come up. Harlen keeps his own refinery alive. Did he have to sell off his MCV? No, he didn't. And he also just got the, like, advanced rocket pods, or whatever the upgrade is for the Strikers. Camp on top of it and just go for it, yeah. And suicide the Strikers if you have to, because you kill the MCV. That's a big, big deal. And if you lose one or both of these Strikers, it is a price you are willing to pay. He's going to get a couple of shots back. He might even get a kill on one of these Apollos, as they were not paying attention. The focus was on the other side of the map. The Vindicator's hoping to get some more damage done. With the help of these cryocopters, he can freeze down this mecha bay. And now we have an MCV, no way to rebuild, a dead MCV with no way to rebuild on one side of the map, and this Javelin Soldier getting free damage against this Striker on the other side of the map. It is do or die here, sort of, for both players. The mecha bay is now gone. The MCV is not trying to juke from positions to, like, break the freeze attempt by just a moment there, as the Vindicator will get fully ranked up. But does he have a place to land? The Striker needs to stand over top of this airfield. He's going to go for the walls, which is a good choice there. No rebuild on the walls, but the Imperial Warriors are now being frozen in place and crushed by the Prospector. Turtle is holding on. The only thing he can do is just build more cryocopters. One cryocopter for every unit that the Empire player has, and Turtle puts his second point on the board. We're going to the ace match. And that'll send us to Battle Base Beta for the last game of this best of 5. Who advances into the round of 32 and who drops down to the lower bracket? Both of these players have had their ups and downs for sure, and it's only going to get tougher from here on out. And yes, in the north, it looks like it's CXK rocking the Geneva Smurf. But I did ask the BattleNet admins, and they were able to assist me on the name. Apparently, the player is smurfing as Geneva, and the name that he might more commonly be known as is CXK. Playing the allies over there. It's a fast 3 refineries from our Empire player. Basically around the 1 minute mark, he's got 3 harvesters working away, and he's about to have an oil derrick as well. Does delay some other things, but Battle Base Beta, we'll see if he gets away with it. It kind of worked out there on Mers Landing. Didn't work so well on the other one, and it's who knows. I feel like it can work on Battle Base Beta. It was a relatively quick airfield, and now the second refinery is up. It might be straight into Tier 2. We'll see what the allies want to do. And there's the scouting dog. So he did have his suspicions. Has he actually gotten confirmation of it? Yes, he has. Okay, man, the vision on a dog is just so crazy. He can see it from all the way over there. And of course, Arling cannot see the dog from his position. And Arling has had that low power mode running for a little while, is now online as it is cryocopters out and on the way for CXK. Burst Drone will be able to spot this stuff as it's coming across the map, and the units in the buildings will spot it even more so. Do we have Defender Cores out? No, he was late on the Defender Core, in part because he didn't have a lot of power. He didn't have electricity to go around, and one of these Defender Cores will certainly be frozen by the time... Well, actually, he could just freeze the Harvesters and then skedaddle, but if you want to get the kill on the Defender Core, you do have time to do it on at least one of them, maybe not on the other one, as the Ore Collector will be frozen, will be shut down, and it's low power city for the Empire player. Now we're back online. Dog is also keeping an eye on this location. Refinery gets sold off, and the Harvester will be heading back to base. So you can replace... Whoa! GG comes out as CXK will advance into the round of 32. We didn't even get to get into the game. We got into the ace match, and then it's already over. An unfortunate ending to this series. And that will be the end of the video as well. Thank you all very much for watching. Huge shout out to MediaStorm and the BattleNet admins for helping this event to happen. I hope you enjoyed it. More content is coming. Tons of games from BattleNet Qualifier, from the Command & Conquer Online Qualifier, and then we're getting into playoffs, the top 8 battling it out in an absolutely awesome double elimination bracket. That'll do it. Thank you all very much for watching, and this is Sybert signing out.